Oh, the Facebook dance, that was a Brad thing. I was totally kidding. I'm not bringing that like to every call. You could lead it. I'll follow you on this one, but you got to lead it. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to our unblinded, real raw sales role play. We got Vivian, we got Sean. We have 3 rock star judges, a role player, and 2 amazing contestants, one of which has normal colored hair today. I'll let him tell you that story and why I said that. So Vivian, welcome us in. Who do we got here? And Sean, is there anything you want to share before Vivian introduces the fine folk that we have here on today's role play?
Yeah, so I think Gerald's hair is much more normalized at the other colors that it usually is. So I can't see anyway, but at least that's what I hear. So I'm super fired up for all that. And Vivian, yes, we have 2 rock stars. And you know, P.S., what are we doing here? We're here to demonstrate that influence is a superpower. Like, it's here to be unlocked, and that's what's happening. And when influencers influence influencers to merge ecosystems, the world becomes a greater place when it's rooted in the superpower of integrity-based human influence. So, Vivian, what do we got today?
Oh my God, we have such an amazing group of folks from all over the place. We have Gerald Rogers from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I saw something about like unicorn sneakers on your site, so I would love to know more about that. But I know that you're also a co-founder at Limitless, and you are a transformational leader, speaker, and coach. Has trained thousands of individuals how to discover their purpose, step into their power, and learn how to make their purpose-driven businesses profitable and live big.
Yeah.
Has been featured on ABC, NBC, Today, CBS, The Huffington Post, TEDx, and CNN.
Whoa, Gerald, I didn't realize you were a TV star on top of everything else. How are you, brother?
I'm definitely not a TV star, but every once in a while, they hunt me down and they say, "Hey, Gerald, we want you." You know, it's real. The problem's real.
Yeah. You know, it's a tough life, but somebody's got to live it. How are things out in Utah? And how is your, and listen, there's like a lot of things that people in the world call their significant other, right? Like a lot of things. I get Rob Gill on the phone. He can list them, what happens in Bayonne. But here's what happens out in Gerald Rogers' world. Gerald calls his lovely, amazing, incredible significant other his beautiful goddess. True, Gerald?
It's true. That's who she is.
Yeah. How's Allison doing?
She's extraordinary. Right as we speak, she's facilitating some transformation. She's getting people through a shame and shadow workshop. She's taking people deep today. So
Vivian, shame, shadows, like it reminds me of Fernando. We'll get back to that in a second. I'm only busting your chops, Fernando. We'll get there in a second.
Whoa.
But yes, I've sworn off like I did with Rob Gill, but I can't wait to hear. I can tell Fernando, we got to have a quick review with Rick Teed about something. We'll get there in a second. So I'm sure Fernando's loving that. So Vivian, aside from Gerald and his magic and goddesses and shame and shadow workshops and all the beautiful things he does in the world, we have another remarkable gentleman.
Yes, we do. One that loves to shift belief systems, one that's all about belief breakthroughs, and who also knows Gerald, which is really cool, hailing in from North Idaho. CEO coach, Tony Litster. He has uncovered a formula for tapping into the flow state and began sharing his recipe for success with people to help them level up their lives and break free from sabotage. His mission is to find those who are hungry for change and teach them the rituals for success to create skills that are unoutsourceable.
Boom. Tony, how are you, brother?
I'm doing amazing, Sean. Thank you for having me. And what an amazing lineup of people. It's really, really fun to be here. Yeah, the flow state on the What the Flow podcast is the unoutsourceable superpower.
I love it. Tony, I've experienced your work, and it's outstanding, transformational, incredibly powerful. And brother, have seen in your bio that there's something to do with like 100 million people in like a short period of time. Do you want to reference that for a second?
Well, yeah, I mean, different businesses I've had over the years. I had a real estate business, and then one of the businesses we had was a blog site. And in 1 week, we had a reach of 100 million people on social media. So, I've done that kind of stuff. And then I found out that I don't really like running a technology company. What I really like doing is helping people have breakthroughs.
Oh, brother, amazing. And you ready to go toe-to-toe with your brother from another mother, Gerald Rogers?
I'm more nervous than I want to admit out loud.
Well, brother, what would you do? Like in flow state, how do you deal with those nerves? Tell us.
It's because Gerald and I have been doing events for 10 years. And so I've seen him on stage when it comes time to deliver the value and enroll people. And so I know what I'm going up against.
Yeah, and how about Tony when that maniac, Gerald Rogers, stands up on bodies? Have you seen that one? Like, I'm like, I was just standing up on a body, hypnotizing people. Their head comes one side, their feet on another. He's standing on their body, Tony. What's up?
Sean, we need some context. If you're broadcasting out in the world that Gerald Rogers is standing on bodies on stages, I feel that needs like a little pre-frame just so people don't have any weird ideas of what that means.
So Tony in the world, the people, Ira, Rick, the people are alive. So let's start there. They are alive, and Gerald hypnotizes them. And so, Mona, could you come in for 1 second?
Ooh, this is so exciting.
It's not actually Gerald that does it.
Gerald, can I try this? Gerald, can you quickly tell me how to do this, and I'll try this real quick?
Yeah, you can do this really quick. Just tell her.
I'm not condoning this.
No, this is great. There's no way this goes wrong.
Hi, Mona.
So right, we're hurrying.
So just tell Mona. Wait, but tell Mona that she's stiff and rigid, like she's made of a steel bar.
Stiff and rigid, like you're made of something.
Yeah, just make her believe that she's nothing more than a steel bar, okay?
Yes. And she's gonna fall in between these two chairs.
Spread her a little bit more. She needs to really believe that she's a steel bar right now, and then just stand on her. That's all it takes.
And stand on her.
Yeah, just stand on her torso, stand on her waist.
And stand on her torso.
What is happening right now?
Mona, why did you guys stand up? I'm not sure this is a good idea.
Well, it's worse than this, right? Gerald steps up, right, stands up on the woman who's like, I just see this live.
Fernando, you might want to hold those chairs down.
Here's what's happening. So, and I'm blind, right?
Oh.
So I'm just snipping the force.
Or boo-boo.
Wow. Don't do this at home.
Never know what's going to happen on the Real Raw, people.
It's raw. It's raw.
This is raw.
So that's what happens here, right? Thank you, Mona. Hey, Gerald, so I'm going to come to your next program, and I'm going to learn to do that, and Tony's going to put it in like flow, and it's going to be all good. So this is what happens on the Real Raw. So in addition to these amazing gentlemen, Vivian, we got like kings of real estate and like rock stars, and who else do we have?
You know, a lot of people with mojo. We have Ira Rosen, co-founder of Mojo Global. He successfully created, ran, and sold numerous multi-million-dollar companies over the past 4 decades.
Ira, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. I had a call with David last week, and David said, hey, you got to be on here as a judge. And I said, I'm all in. If David recommended it, I thought I'm get to meet some cool people like you guys, and it's all about energy. It's all about energy, high emotion, frequency, and vibration, and you guys have it, so that's why I'm here.
Ira, thank you. And David is truly amazing, and David's a little fun and crazy himself, so I'm sure that none of this is surprising or shocking to you, but thank you for being here.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, Ira, and where are you calling in from today?
I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Ooh, awesome. Love it out there. Spent a lot of time out in Scottsdale with some truly amazing people. So, and in fact, Ira will go here, that we, part of Influence as a Superpower is we're privileged to have the highest jury verdict in Arizona in a case where my client had his company stolen from him in the last decade in Arizona. So it was one of the top 100 in the country in 2016. And, you know, we could talk influence all day long about how to reveal truth in that case. But I was out in Scottsdale, like, for probably 70 times over the course of like 5 years. So it's a beautiful
wow.
place. Yeah. And I have an office out in Phoenix. So, you know, pleasure. That's a home away from home. So how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. And next time you're in town, we'll have to meet up for a cup of coffee.
I would love that. I would love that. Maybe hit Camelback Mountain. And
there you go.
Yeah, cool. So actually, can I say this? Ira, do you think this is a good idea that I coached my son's club baseball team, took about 20 kids out to Phoenix, decided to climb Camelback Mountain and thought it was like no big deal. We ran out of water about a third of the way up, and it was 107 degrees out. As we climbed it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was one of the worst decisions I've ever made in my entire life. happening in Phoenix. Thank goodness everybody was safe, but probably not a good idea. Would you agree?
I would agree. In the middle of the summer when it gets really warm here, every week they show on the news someone being lifted off with a rescue team because for that very reason. You know, it's usually someone that's a tourist doesn't quite understand what happens when you get dehydrated when it's 115 degrees. Yeah. But I'm glad everybody got back and they were safe.
Yeah, amazing. One last question is, are you familiar with Le Grand Restaurant and Pizza?
Oh yeah, that's 10 minutes from my house.
Okay, so I've eaten in Le Grand more than 50 times. It is my favorite place to go eat in Arizona. It's simple. I love the gelato and the pizza. Like, oh my God, the sourdough pizza is incredible.
Yeah, so very chill there. Very chill.
Awesome. Well, pleasure to have you, Ira.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So Vivian, who else we have? Rock stars coming.
Oh my gosh, we have Gregory Charlop. He's a speaker, author, social entrepreneur, and a physician. He's the founder and host of one of the leading flash briefings on Alexa, the Real Estate Flash. Curious.
Interesting.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
How are you?
Excellent, excellent. How are you?
Welcome, brother. And where are you calling in from?
I am calling in from Pasadena, California. Recently moved down here from the Bay Area.
Amazing. And do they medevac people like off of mountains getting dehydrated in the summer in Pasadena?
So I haven't had a summer down here yet. I don't know, but I'll tell you in the Bay Area, we don't have that problem. Never gets that hot.
Amazing. So Pasadena, I think Bill Gross and Idea Lab is in your neighborhood. Bill Gross of 7 $0 to $1 billion exits, the greatest entrepreneur of all time. I believe their Idea Lab headquarters are out in Pasadena, which we've had the privilege of having some fun at. I don't know if you're familiar. You go by Greg or Gregory? What do you prefer?
I go by Greg, unless I'm in trouble. My mom calls me Gregory then. But
awesome.
if I'm all right, then it's Greg.
So you familiar with Bill and any of his work or no?
Yeah, I know some of his work. I've never met him in person, but you know, he's a famous guy. You know, we all appreciate his work.
Remarkable entrepreneur. I had the privilege of having him on my podcast, and also was involved with Idea Lab on a board with him at some point, and just remarkable. So also just had a lot of time out in Pasadena, and you have a beautiful, beautiful area where you live. So
yeah, thank you. So now I'm kind of down here working on telemedicine wellness stuff. That's a big thing these days. Everybody's afraid to go into the doctor's office. So we're trying to transition it to an online thing, and it's big now. And I think we're going to see it bigger and bigger in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I got a little elbow problem, Greg. I'm not joking. A little tennis elbow tendonitis kind of thing. Any thoughts that you could hit me with on some post real raw telemedicine? I'd always be grateful. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's my first time. Glad to be here.
Yeah. And are you a friend of David's or some other mechanism through which you got to be here today?
So I got connected through LinkedIn, actually. I chatted with a couple of people that work with your team on LinkedIn, and we seemed like a good fit. And I just had a book that came out recently called Why Doctors Skip Breakfast, and it's about wellness and anti-aging medicine. And I think that maybe the combination of the real estate interest and interest in anti-aging medicine, stuff like that, I guess, caught your guys' eye.
Amazing. So thank you for that, Greg. And I tell you this, you're going to meet some really cool people today that are up to big things in the world. And all of these incredible people have nothing on our final person who I look up to as a mentor, a friend, a guide, a trailblazer, straight up rock star. Vivian, who do we have?
We have Rick Teed, founding member of Teed & Co. and is a San Francisco real estate advisor.
Rick Teed, how are you, brother?
Great, guys. Thank you so much. You definitely oversell me every single time, and then I try to live up to it. And then I hear everybody else's accolades, and I go, oh boy, should I even be on this call?
Oh my God.
But I'll try, Sean.
So
give it my
So Tony Robbins' wonderful brother-in-law calls you Uncle Ricky. Let's start there. A lion in the Tony Robbins organization. Somebody's been in the Platinum Partnership for I don't even know how many years, but walks around there as like a true humble leader of that entire ecosystem, up on stage, raising money, doing incredible things for Tony's birthday. You are somebody who has been so kind to me, so amazing to me, and such a great mentor to me. And oh, by the way, listed in many magazines as one of the most successful realtors in America at different times of your career. Is that an accurate statement, Rick Teed?
I mean, it is, but you know, when you're doing it, you don't notice it as anything other than what Is that really true? Did that really happen? And it did happen. There have been times where, you know, my numbers were the biggest in the country for a real estate agent. And I just kind of like laughed and said, what was everybody else doing? Because I mean, I didn't do anything differently. I didn't become some sensational internet marketer or anything. I just did one thing that I think is the key to everybody's business, regardless, is just provide more value than anybody else possibly can or cares to do.
That's Rick Teed, ladies
and the last part is the most important part, because you say anybody can. You'd have to make the assumption that nobody's as good as you. And I don't agree with that. I just agree that you'd have to put in more hours, and you'd have to put in more thinking. You'd have to have a really big bag of resources to compete. So,
and Rick, you were featured in what magazine as one of?
I think Wall Street Journal is the one that reports every year. Real trends, so on and so forth. But, you know, there's so many articles from the Huffington Post to different Forbes and all this stuff. You know, they call it Interview, but, you know, only did I recently start capturing all that stuff. I mean, I've been on so many, I can't tell you how many times I've done, you know, interviews, but I never, again, it seemed more localized, but then it gets picked up nationally and you're surprised. Again, it never really meant anything to me. What I just love doing is taking care of the clients.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, and Rick, you know what? So I agree. It doesn't matter in certain respects, but it matters incredibly that, you know, it demonstrates what you've accomplished and who you are in the world. It doesn't mean that we're perfect. It doesn't mean anything, but it doesn't mean nothing. It means that you're capable of doing something truly remarkable, to the point that a periodical like the Wall Street Journal that you can't buy your way into will be talking about Rick Teed. And that's an amazing accomplishment, brother. And so it's an honor to have you here. And thank you for taking time today.
You know, I bet you if you were to ask everybody on this panel, whether you're a judge or whether you're a contestant, you're here for a reason. And you probably are doing something that seems quite natural to you, or you've had these moments where you were stuck and then you figured it out and you broke through, and all of a sudden there was just this great sense of accomplishment. But as you're going, it's just happening naturally to the person that's actually in that body pulling things off. But it seems quite natural. So, yeah.
And Rick,
it never feels incredible. It just feels like it's natural, and thank God I'm pulling this off, because now something's working and you just feel good about what you're doing. I mean, any sort of momentum feels great.
And Rick, one of our dear, in that regard, one of our friends from Platinum, who's a host at Tony's birthday, Rob Gill, dear friend of mine, Rob likes to say, this is what it looks like. Like, this is what it looks like, which means exactly what you just said. It doesn't look like anything. It looks like Rick doing that Wall Street Journal and then picking up dinner and sitting there and like drinking a glass of water, right? Like, it's just what it looks like. It doesn't look like a Rocky movie. It's just what it looks like. It just looks like this, right? And so, by the way, you said also just like normal things. Do you think it's normal that Gerald has red or blue hair and walks on the bodies of women, like between two? Is that strike as normal, Rick Teed?
I mean, what I find interesting, it definitely, you know, when I heard that I had to I was taking notes on each person. I'm going, okay, you know, make yourself feel like a steel bar, beam, or whatever. I'm going, I'm going to try that. Okay. I didn't get to hear the end of it. And I didn't get to see you, Sean, jump up there and prove that it works. But I have a sense that it probably would work without a whole lot of hypnotic training. Yeah. If you can just get the person to focus on feeling like they're a steel beam or whatever it was you said. However, it was definitely interesting to me. There was something for each person that I was like going, I want to know more. So for what you're doing, I think this is highly valuable, because each person that you've introduced, I thought, okay, yeah, I've got some questions. Yeah. This could be interesting.
And Gerald, by the way, Rick is also a platinum partner in the Tony world. So.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, well,
are you as well?
Connect. Yeah. So
Great. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have to be aligned. You got to go through. You got to be a plat first, and then pay up. Yeah. I'll tell you something. I will tell you something. If access to Tony, and I do find that valuable. I mean, I've just been friends with Tony for so long, but I can understand why it's an extremely valuable thing to have that real one-on-one time with him, even if it's once a year, but you get more. So anybody that's really thinking about that, I think it's extremely valuable.
Incredible.
And also the people it's a real filtered out group of, there's a lot of plats, and, you know, having 30 or 40 lines, it's a pretty interesting group of people.
Yeah. And we're going to be at Tony's house in July together, Rick, and he's saying it's on no matter what. So if I have to take a car ride down to Florida, I will be there. So I'm looking forward to seeing you, brother.
Get on a plane.
Or take a plane. It'll be all good. That's a longer conversation. I agree. So, hey, here we are. So you're like, hey, what's going on? Like, why aren't we doing something? We just did. We just did. We had like 5 amazing people like chatting, like here, present. So this is also just like, this is a fun way for people to connect, number 1, like a lunch or a dinner. Number 2, the training part of that is like, how do you acknowledge people? How do you have fun? How do you connect with remarkable and incredible people like these fine folks? In addition, we're about to move into the gamification fun round of this, where we're demonstrating that influence is in fact a superpower, and microscopic distinctions in influence create exponentially extraordinary results. My favorite way of demonstrating that is in the 95th percentile income in the US, people make $150,000. Gerald, do you know what people make in the 99.999 percentile? Just 3 nines, 99.999. Any thoughts, Gerald?
I'm going to guess 10 million.
$56 million a year. So
Oh my
a 9.5, right, in income, 95th percentile is 150. 99.999 is 56 million. And you're like, what are you talking about money? It's not about money. It's about the exponentiality of mastery. When people have micro distinctions in influence, they become like Rick Teed and in the Wall Street Journal. And some of the realtor goes, Rick's not smarter than me. Rick's not like, you know, maybe Rick's better looking. I don't know. But like, Rick's a cool dude, but how the heck is he doing so much better than I am? Microscopic distinction. And that's what all of these fine folks here have today. And that's what we unlock through the Real Raw. What it's brought for me is 2 top 100 national jury verdicts, you know, and the other things that have beautifully been created. I have a 125 person law firm, built a 40 person law firm 2 years out of law school, starting on my credit card, $100,000 in debt. Couldn't believe it was possible when people smarter than me, hardworking, caring, loyal, were struggling to make things happen. Microscopic distinctions create the more money in less time with more magic. That's what we're here to unpack and have a little bit of fun. So Gerald and Tony, thank you guys again so much for being here. I'm gonna give a couple quick thoughts, but are you guys ready to drop in? Tony, like, how are you feeling as we get ready? You in flow or no?
Totally in flow.
All right.
I'm totally in flow. I was thinking this, Sean, though, you probably should have opted for that helicopter ride with those scouts or with that baseball team. You know, it's only $25K for life flight. You could have got them life flighted off that mountain and they'd had the time of their life. Yes,
that would have been a much better option than almost having their parents never, ever want them to go anywhere with me again for the rest of their lives. But we did take selfies from the top at the end, and that's a longer story. Oh, by the way, speaking of selfies, Fernando, are you here?
Why? Why?
Speaking of selfies.
All right, speaking of selfies. So Rick, right, and I want you to comment on this because I don't know if you know this story. So Fernando is my friend, co-founder, business partner, and he is an absolute integrity-based transformational genius in the space of influence and selling with integrity. His commitment is rewriting humanity in the perspective of using influence and integrity as the mechanism. He calls it simplification. He loves people, loves humanity, confronts himself, works tirelessly on his mastery. That's who Fernando is. However, Rick and everybody, sometimes we got to stub our toe or bang our head or maybe have an anvil dropped on top of it to kind of learn a few things. So Rick, how does this fit for you? Do you know when Tony Robbins does that fun little exercise where he has a woman that's in the crowd that is upset and sad about her relationship, and then he wants to let her meet some amazing men and come up on stage? You know when Tony does that, Rick?
Yes.
Yeah. So Fernando was one of those guys. And Fernando came up on stage at Date with Destiny, and as Tony's assembling people onto the stage, Fernando is taking selfies and videoing himself with the crowd behind him. So Tony Robbins was not too pleased, Fernando, was he?
He was not pleased at all, Mr. Callaghy.
Okay, and I will condense this story to end it here, Rick. Hey, Rick, what would you have thought, actually, Rick, you've known Tony for a long time, if Fernando came up and it was in service of this woman and building her confidence, and Fernando hops up on stage and he's taking selfies and pictures. What do you think Tony Robbins was thinking, Rick?
I wasn't there, but I'd be surprised if he didn't give Fernando a dose of pain that is in front of the entire audience of, if it was a Date with Destiny, we'll call it 7,000 or 8,000 people, but it feels like a whole lot more when everything is focused on you. And it's one of those highly alert moments where it's not like anybody isn't paying attention. Right. And so since you got everyone's attention, I'd say Fernando experienced extreme pain from Tony.
Yes, he certainly did. And then it ended when the lady said she didn't want to go out on a date with Fernando. Tony Robbins threw his hands up victoriously in the air and the crowd burst into applause. So that we call, Rick and everybody, Fernando's last selfie. So
hi everyone, my name's Fernando Valencia and I've been sober from selfies for 6 months.
So, and we love Fernando and just having some fun. So let's
Fernando, just so you know, I've been bitch slapped by Tony too. And it doesn't feel good.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I definitely feel heard and validated now. Thank you, Rick.
It just happens. But again, you know, I've known him for so long that when he does it to me, I just kind of roll like whatever, right? Because sometimes he just likes to take a shot anyway. So don't feel so bad, because I know that has to be a painful moment. And I'm not sure if the hypnotist here can somehow work you out of that pain, because I'm sure it's still lingering.
No, you know what? Actually, Gerald, I will definitely take the help. Sean decided to take it on his own hands. And at our first event in January, in front of 1,500 people, he decided to have an intervention as the world found out about my last selfie. So I have been complete. I have restored the emotion around that. And to this day, I'm living it and I smile with pride because it was a monumental moment in the world of Unblinded in my relationship with Sean.
Yes.
I love that. And I confess that if I looked as good as Fernando, I'd be taking selfies all the time. So.
It's all about the hair, you know?
Yeah. And Fernando, by the way, it made you famous, you know, good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, it's, you get an airtime.
That's it. No pub is bad pub. Don King said, maybe for the most part. So here we go. Ready? Gerald, Tony, round one. Oh, and forgive me. Do we have a role player today, Vivian?
I am the role player.
Okay, so Vivian is straight up as the role player. Vivian, little background on you. You've been on TV. You know incredible people. Everybody who comes on here is like, oh my God, let me have Vivian introduce me, inject energy into it. So why do you do this, Vivian?
Why am I here today?
Yeah, like why do you do what you do on The Real Raw?
It's an opportunity for me to always stay glued to learn from the master, Sean Callaghan.
I don't know about that, but thank you. And you meet incredible people and you bring the energy and love every day. So thank you, Vivian. You're amazing.
Thank you.
So Gerald, Tony, here's what's happening. Vivian is the role player. And Vivian, what's going to occur in round one is you're going to build emotional rapport. However you see fit. Emotional rapport is the opening of listening. So we're not Charlie Brown's teacher going wah, 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 wah. We're opening emotional rapport up and we're putting something at stake. Other people might call it touching on pain. So round one, 3-minute segment is nothing about you getting to a yes. It's nothing about you talking about yourself. That's in round two. Round one is all about opening the listening, having Vivian see her future in you, right? As well as putting something at stake. And that judges what they're being graded on a 10-point scale. And Gerald and Tony, each of you get to pick who Vivian is. Vivian could be herself. She could be anybody. But what's really fun is a yes that you're seeking in the world. A yes that's relevant for you. Maybe a big one, maybe a typical one. What's a yes? It doesn't have to be a sale. It doesn't have to be about money. Going from hello to yes with integrity is what this is all about. So it can be anything that you want. That's what's at stake. Does that make sense, Gerald and Tony?
Totally makes sense.
Got it.
Got it. Okay. So round one is 3 minutes. Then we have a break. So it's going to be like, hey, Vivian, you got a phone call. So it's just bifurcated. It's not 2 different meetings. It's just like a hold on, I'll be right back. Okay. So Tony, where are you physically today?
I'm in my living room in Idaho, northern Idaho.
In northern Idaho. Well, help me guys. My geography is a little sketchy. So which is further away from New Jersey, Idaho or Utah?
Idaho. I think. Idaho's north of Utah though. That's a good question.
It is a really good. So let's ask Alexa.
Pretty.
Alexa, how far away is Salt Lake City, Utah?
Salt Lake City.
2,227. And where are you, Tony?
Sandpoint, Idaho. Sandpoint, Idaho.
Alexa, how far away is Sandpoint, Idaho?
Sandpoint is 949.7 miles away by
Yes,
car.
400 miles. You win. Tony's further away. That makes you the away team. I have a 1 or a 2 under the table. What's it going to be? A 1 or a 2? This is like the coin toss.
2.
Okay. 2, you have 1. Here's your choice. You get, Tony, to go first in round 1 or second. If you pick first, you retain choice in round 2. If you pick second, then Gerald will have choice in round 2. So would you like to go first and have Gerald choice next round, or you go second and retain choice? I'm sorry.
I'm totally going first.
Totally going first. Amazing. So you will retain choice. Tony, who would you like Vivian to be?
I'd like Vivian to be Vivian.
Amazing. I love it. That is becoming a more common selection on The Real Raw, Tony. Love it. Amazing. And we're about to drop in. Do you have any questions, Tony?
All I'm doing is gaining rapport in round 1. Not offering, not selling.
Not offering, not selling, but also accessing a relevant pain point that will be what you're going to be communicating about and getting to a yes in round 2. So
Yes.
the scoring in round 1 is emotion 4 and some access to pain or putting something at stake. Now, it's not easy. It's 3 minutes, right? So we got to sort of build that rapport. We want to be authentic and real, but access pain in round 1. So there's true rapport and congruence present. Not an easy game. Not an easy game. But are you ready, Tony?
I'm ready.
All right. So we have 3 minutes on the clock. Vivian, let's go.
Okay.
Vivian, did you say you're in New Jersey? Or no, you're in New York in the hideout zone.
Yeah, I'm in the containment zone.
And how in the world did you get there from California?
I've traveled so much to date, about 23 times. And I left California in 2009 after I felt like when I joined the auto show circuit as a presenter for Infinity and GMC and looked for a new opportunity outside of the acting. And I was on Days of Our Lives and a bunch of other fun stuff. And so my mother-in-law passed away, and then I kind of came back home to Westchester County, which is where I live.
Got it. And you're originally from Westchester?
My husband is Anthony, but I feel like I'm a Brooklyn girl. That's the place where I feel like I felt like that was home the first 10 years, sort of, because I've moved all throughout anyway. But I'm from Dominican Republic and from Spanish.
Your husband's name is Anthony.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Why?
Well, so is mine. I just, I'm fond of that name. So,
I thought so.
No, I mesh really well with that name. Tell me, as far as like going from acting into these other worlds, like a lot of times people that get into acting, there's a real passion and a real love. What was the transition point for you?
From acting to
what you're doing?
To what I'm currently doing? So what I'm currently doing is my show Dish It, where I serve people beautiful cultural foods or things that harken to their background, and they dish me their story of perseverance. So the transition came when I had a health crisis and was ready to pivot away from the auto shows that I spent 10 years in.
Got it. And so you combine this conversation of food and life struggle.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I have about a minute to go, but yeah.
Can I hear the short story of your health crisis?
I was having date night and made a beautiful branzino with some sauteed mushrooms and tomatoes. And then I got really tired and passed out and woke up, and little by little, my face started to blow up like the Nutty Professor. So under my eyes, it just got bigger, and I never had that freak out and never had a health problem, never had problems with eating anything. So it was completely shocking. And that was just the beginning of it all. Then I called my doctor. I wouldn't leave my house, and gave me steroids to get that under control. And then it became this circular thing to discover that perhaps it was a leaky gut about 2 years later, after I've seen every doctor under the sky.
Vivian, you got to take this call real quick. We'll be right back, Tone. Okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Very nice job. So Tony, what is present for you?
Tony.
Sorry, I missed the question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What is present for you? How is that for you?
I mean, I actually am quite intrigued by her story and wish I had a few minutes more to go deeper. I'm fascinated with the combination of to go from acting into something that feels so real, like actual really good food and actual breakthrough conversation feels so substantive to me that I'm intrigued.
Very cool.
I wish I had more time to go deeper into it, actually.
Awesome. So Vivian, real quick, one word, what was that encounter with Tony like? First word that pops for you, one word.
Caring.
Caring, beautiful. And one sentence, please.
I felt like he had really good listening and he wanted to, I felt like we were building great rapport.
Awesome, all right. Very nice, Tony. Gerald, are you ready?
I am so ready.
And who would you like Vivian to be?
I just want to continue hearing about Vivian. I just want her to be her. That's all.
All right, extraordinary. So Gerald, if you have no other questions, and judges, let's lock in Tony's score. Remember, accessing rapport, having something at stake, like how much is Vivian seeing her future in, you get something at stake. Gerald, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, 3 minutes. Take us in, Vivian.
Hi.
Hey, Vivian, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. You are doing such a good job of just holding space for this. And I just, like I am experiencing you, like I just want to take a moment before we get started just to acknowledge you. Like it takes a lot to put yourself out there the way that you do. And I know you've done this for your whole life, and being able to be visible and to share who you are to the world, and especially to do it in a way that you do in your platform, and to support Sean. I can tell you're someone that really cares about people. What is it, as you look at this experience you have on dishing it, like what is the passion that drives that for you?
There's a lot of passion that I've always had. I've always been a compass, knowing that I was going somewhere that made sense.
Were you this passionate and driven even like when you were young? Has that always been a part of who you are?
Always. I've moved 23 times to date. I come from a lot of dysfunction, so yeah. We're Latin. We got passion.
And for you, when you dig into like dishing it, like take me to a moment that like just lights up your soul. Like what is the core reason why you do what you do? Like take me to that moment.
I love when people really strip down from all of the beauty and get really right into that place where they're just cracking open and giving you their heart about how they went from bad to where they are today. And that for me is a great connection point. So when I have food that I make organically and that I've thought about for days, that I went to the supermarket and bought the best of products, and as I'm cooking and making it all beautiful and plating it, it's like I get filled with knowing that I'm giving love to my guest.
Oh, I love that. And what a beautiful space it is. I think we all crave like those spaces where we can be completely vulnerable, right? Because we all have those broken parts. I know for me, like as I look at the divorce that I went through, or when I went through bankruptcy, like there's these moments where my life shattered, but on the outside, I felt like I needed to wear this mask and have it all figured out. And I love that you create space for people to like be in their brokenness and in that hurt and pain. I think that must be really healing. So for you in your life right now, like what do you feel like are the things that you're working through right now? Because we all have our mastery areas and we all have our messes. Like what are those areas for you that you're like still in the middle of the mess?
Well, we're at the top of almost 3 minutes, so.
Yeah, so you can answer that, Vivian.
What was the question again? Sorry, because I was making sure.
Pain and messes.
I have a lot of messes when it comes to fractured relationships that are really close to me, because there's not a great communication point, and I've given way too much of my power consistently to enable people's terrible behaviors. And I have recently in the last year have learned to say no, and finally said yes to me growing and pouring all of my energy, which I confused as being selfish. And I thought I needed to give till it hurt. And so it's been illuminating to break through little by little and to feel that it's okay, that I'm not a horrible human for focusing on what I'm doing.
That's really beautiful.
Awesome. We're going to pick up a phone call, Vivian.
Yeah, that's the phone call.
Excellent job, Gerald. Gerald, how would that feel for you?
It was good. It's like I noticed for sure like the depth that I can experience from her, and I also noticed like sometimes my head like interacting is like, oh, we have all these other people observing the conversation, right? It's like I would love to just sit down with no noise and just like really go deep, but I love that, you know, in the role play situation we're like, you know, balancing between like opening our hearts and also just being aware that other people are chiming in.
Yeah, well, amazing, Gerald. So one word for you, Vivian. How was that encounter?
I felt safe.
Awesome. And one sentence?
I loved all the questions that he asked and the validation that he gave me from the top of the conversation and the interesting open-ended questions he had.
Yeah. I'll give some feedback after the judges, so I don't want to steer anything there. So let's lock in some scores for Gerald. Judges, please, for Tony and Gerald, so we're not influencing one another. And the winners from here advance, but we all win, right? We're having fun. And thank you, by the way, Gerald and Tony, for putting yourselves out here in such a vulnerable way to the world. It takes immense courage, and it's a source of generous, fulsome contribution to come on here. And so much that we learn from one another, as well as the people that are watching. So thank you, Gerald and Tony, for that.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, judges, we're going to go one by one, and we're going to go, hey, starting with Tony, what's couple of sentences of positive feedback, a couple of sentences of opportunity. It's all positive. A couple of sentences of what you like best, a couple of sentences of what is a growth opportunity, and a score. So as you are called often Uncle Ricky, Mr. Rick Teed, what do you have, starting with Tony?
So let me just say this is the first time I've been on this, and so I didn't even know what my role really as a judge is, and I've had no experience, so please don't take this personally, guys. So I would say, as I was listening to Tony, Tony does something that I feel like I do, which is I lead with a little sex appeal. And I really feel like Tony was going in and connecting with Vivian. You know, just he has a little bit of this charm, and he was going in and connecting and had her attention from the get-go.
Hey, Rick, may I interrupt? I'm so sorry. Tony, would it be okay if from this day forward on The Real Raw, we simply refer to you as Sexy Poppy? Sexy Poppy?
No. Nobody told my dad that.
I am like,
it's a skill you're not going to be able to take away from him because it's naturally done. I'm watching how natural it is. So
it's amazing. And who is that?
I think there was. I'm sorry.
That was my daughter Bea, who has joined the Real Raw.
Bea, thank you for sharing your dad. Thank you for sharing your dad with us, Bea. Thank you. And so I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
I didn't know that I was going to have to suggest some sort of like earmuffs or headgear for your daughter, and all. Sorry about that, Tony. But again, she probably recognizes the greatness in her father, and so because I'm paying attention to this. I don't know what the ultimate business model is, so it's hard for me to I really like to know a lot more about where someone's going with these questions and why. But I would say this, that very quickly there was a connection there that seemed to flow very easily. I don't know if it's scalable, Tony. You probably have to show me if the same skills would work with several different types of people. But I would say this, I thought, if it was all about getting attention, keeping the attention and keeping Vivian answering your questions and leading somewhere, I think it was just, it was it's as good as you're going to get.
Awesome. And what'd you have for score, Rick?
What would I give for a score? I mean, again, I don't want to give anybody a 10 because I haven't had enough experience, but, somewhere between an 8 and a 9.
If you had to pick a number between 8 and 9.
Okay, let's just go with, I'll give him an 8.5.
Beautiful. Thank you. And for Gerald?
So on Gerald, again, this is somebody who's obviously from the business. I have I was listening to what he does in this hypnotic thing. I was going, okay, how does he follow up from Tony in this? Because he got to get in there once he understood a little bit about Vivian. So I felt like he had an unfair advantage. And we'll tell you what I experienced there was his ability to get in there and ask questions, you know, using both feminine, how do I explain this? A feminine reference point where he met her where she was emotionally. He was quickly connected to where she was emotionally and knew how to lead her. And I think that's a very advanced skill. I was enjoying watching it because things are very obvious to me when I know what people are doing, because I'm a guy and I watch guys that are very skilled in communicating with women and beautiful women. So I know that this matters because it's a subset of everything we do.
I'm sensing a theme here today, but maybe I'm not.
It's because I'm watching how it's done. I mean, because look at, again, it's a skill set that I really feel we use we have different sets with different people. And, I'm not stereotyping you, Vivian, as this, but from a guy's perspective, I know that it was, if I'm talking to a woman, I'm looking for a conversation, something where I'm going to engage her and keep her attention. I think both guys did on the same parallel. So 8.5, I thought it was very clever and sincere. I think you both were very sincere. So and I'm not going to inflate numbers just because of egos, but I think there's a lot more to all of this. And that's where I would rate those.
Thank you so much, brother. So, Greg, you happy you responded on LinkedIn, or it's a little crazy? Like, what's the story?
Yeah, so this is fun, actually. This is my first time being here, and I like the experience. It's fun to sit back and judge other people and not be the one who's being judged. So it's,
Greg, you always have the option of returning as a participant. So we'll see.
Can we mute all of the mics that people are not actually talking? Sorry.
Yeah. No, all good. Thank you, Vivian. So Greg, what do you have for Tony?
So this is fun. So I'll say, I like the fact that Tony asked some good questions. And as an observer, to me, it looked like Tony was sort of probing around, trying to find an area of interest. So he's talking about where she lived. She talked a little bit about her family and her husband's name, talked about careers and her interests. So I got the sense that he was sort of probing, looking for some subject to discuss, or looking for some common bond. So in a way, like was said before, he was working maybe at a bit of a disadvantage because he was kind of looking for an opening. But I thought he asked some good questions. The one thing I will say maybe on constructive criticism part is, to me, it almost felt like an interview. Like I felt like he was interviewing her for something, almost as though he were maybe a boss or something, interviewing someone for a job, as opposed to someone looking to form a relationship with someone, either of peers or someone at a bar or something like that. I guess since I haven't seen this before, I'm not sure what the goal here is, but to me, it struck me as a bit of an interview. But I think he was also, going first. I just think it's more challenging for him. So it was good to see the kind of clever questions he asked to try to learn more about them.
Awesome, brother. And so what you have for a score?
I'd give him maybe a 7. Only, I thought it was great, but I guess the one thing that holds me back is, like I said, it felt a little bit like an interview.
Cool. And how about for Gerald?
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I thought Gerald actually had the sex appeal.
Whoa,
I really
Gerald!
I like the way he leaned in. He spoke slowly. I really like the fact that he kind of asked questions and then paused. To me, it really felt like he was listening to what Vivian had to say. He didn't follow question with question, but he sort of seemed to reflect on what she was saying, and he would say, mm-hmm. And to me, it felt like he was really trying to make her feel comfortable. And rather than sort of a rapid fire set of questions, like I really felt like he was listening, and he seemed genuinely interested in what she had to say. So I like that. I could see how that could be very charming and disarming.
Awesome. And for a score?
9.
Whoa, Gerald put a 9 on the board. So,
oh, yeah.
Boom. So Ira, how are you? Do we have Ira unmuted?
Thank you. No, I'm doing great. I'm really enjoying the process here. This is my first time being here, something like this. So it's this is pretty ninja stuff. So as far as initially, as far as Tony goes, I thought Tony had great rapport. His body language was really good. He asked some great questions. I felt like it felt like maybe he was maybe trying a little too hard, or just kind of having there was a little period there where there was a little bit of a struggle. It was very subtle, but I thought overall you did definitely connect up with Vivian. I thought it was well executed, but I liked the whole process you took her through. So so that's my feedback for you, Tony. But I thought you got it all going on. Good looking guy, and you're charming, and so I'm sure in real life you're charming the hell out of everybody all the time, right?
Cool. Hey, Tony, I can't see you. I didn't know you're a good-looking guy. So this is like new access for me. Very cool.
And he has a man bun, which is really appealing.
And he has a man bun. So he's a good-looking guy with a man bun. We got Gerald with the red and blue hair that's brown now. And this is like a dynamic hair stud duo. So
this is why when you come to our seminar that you get both of us working at the same time. So it's something else there.
That's amazing. That is truly amazing. Yeah. So Iris, so what'd you have for a score for Tony?
I would give Tony, I'm going to give Tony a 7.5.
Okay. And for Gerald?
Gerald, I thought was, I will say the questions and everything was masterful. I thought it was Jedi quality. I mean, a lot of NLP in there, a lot of the body language, the tonality, the questions you asked, what passion drives you? A great question. Take me to that moment that lights up your soul. Great questions. And not only the great questions, but also the way you asked them and the tone, and just sat back and waited. I mean, you truly cracked open Vivian. Vivian revealed some very personal things. And I was interested. I'd love to hear the rest of that conversation, because I was drawn in by Vivian, by her answers, but I thought it was masterful. It was very, very skillfully done, kind of like brain surgery.
Yeah. And what did you have for a score?
I gave Gerald a 9.
Very nice. All right, Tony, got some catching up to do, brother. You did a beautiful job. You have a man bun and you're super sexy, but Gerald's got a lead after round 1, right? So here's a couple quick access. Right? So a couple quick access points. So great job. Vivian, that is fun. So, right, Gerald did a beautiful job right off the bat with an acknowledgement. So we believe there is a model for human communication with integrity that takes us to where we want to go every single time. But the first indispensable element is to love people unconditionally with boundaries. True integrity. Like, not designed so we can get what we want, but to do what Oprah said, which is to have everybody leave feeling, I see you, I hear you, and what you say matters. So right off the hop, Gerald had a beautiful acknowledgement for creating rapport. Now, an access point, as beautifully as Gerald did, watch this. So everybody says something. There's not one phrase, one word, one anything that people say for no reason. So we talk about level 5 transformational listening being us questioning into any word, vocal quality shift, like tonal or vocal quality shift, or body language shift, right? The 3 ways to communicate. Anything that's energized or unique about it, we ask into. So right off the hop, Vivian said something that was really uniquely interesting. So, hey, Vivian, I heard you say, now watch my listening, genuine. Like, I'm acknowledging uniqueness. Hey, Vivian, I heard you say you moved 23 times. Did I hear that right?
Yes. Why?
Yeah, if I could ask, is that okay?
Sure. I just didn't know if I heard you. Well, there was a lot of poverty, and there was a lot of uncertainty, and there was a lot of trying to make a better life and find a better place. And at one point we were thrown out of my sister's house, one older sister, a lot of dysfunction there. And we had to move about 2 times after that, which landed me in a rat and crack infested building with my mom. I was about 16. And then we just kept, and then we had to come back to my sister's house at some point. And then there was more, it was just mom and I, and, you know, she was a home attendant, and we were just trying to find a better life.
Wow. So now pause. Gerald, do you feel the depth and the access that created? Just that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's present
for you?
Like I'm moved just hearing that, you know, like, and it's interesting because I recognize when we look at some things, like she's, you know, the star of this TV show, she's launching all these things, and she went through these, like when we actually go back to the origin of what makes Vivian and feel what that must have been like for that girl that was just like searching for what is that better life. Like it gives me a really deep insight to who she is and why she has this hunger to improve her life and to help others to do the same.
Yeah. And
it
so
was really powerful.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Gerald. And so the access is this. The reason Vivian said she moved 23 times is because she wanted us to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason that Vivian said it was because she hoped that somebody would hear her and ask her about it. Vivian, is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you're incredibly proud of what you overcame, but there's still a ton of pain there. That it's meaningful that people know the pain you went through and what you overcame to get here. As Gerald acknowledged, is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. So the creation of emotional rapport is rooted in a sequencing of questions, which we're not training on right now, a sequencing of questions that accesses just that. I see you, I hear you, what you say matters to me. And 30,000 microphones later, Oprah Winfrey's worth $2 billion. But not just because she listened, because the people felt heard. And that value, we could talk about this for about the next 10 hours, or 100 hours actually. But just right now, the takeaway is this. We believe so often that sales is transactional. We believe so often that the mechanism that we get to, and I've had people come on the show, we've had amazing people on every day. And like, you don't need like emotions. You know, we've even had people at the Unblinded thing talk about like, we don't want to go too deep in selling. You don't need to like make somebody cry to make a sale. It's not about making people cry. It's about heart connection, authentically connecting between humans. And when that occurs, real listening is at play. And now it's only manipulative, everybody, Vivian and all, if we only do it when we can get something from it. When this is how we communicate with our next door neighbor, the Uber driver, the person coming out with a mask to bring our food during Corona, like when this is how we communicate with humanity, then we're truly adding massive value and have gone dramatically beyond the transactional. And even if we just walk around the world wanting everybody to feel seen, heard, and understood for a moment, I think we create massive transformation. And I know in the end, it all works out for everybody because we're putting massive value into the world, right? Tony, any thoughts on that real quick before we proceed?
It's brilliant. And no, just that's why I wanted to come on here. I was hoping you'd train me on something, Sean.
No, well, thank you, brother. And thank you for being here. And I learned from you as well. And that's what we're here to do for each other. So for fun, we ready to drop in at round 2?
Absolutely.
Sean, I just want you to know that Ira has to leave as a judge.
Okay. So Ira, real quick before you bounce, I know you're going to go. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry I ran overtime, but how was the experience for you, Ira?
This was, I wish I had a very important meeting coming up. I wish I could cancel it, but I want to keep my commitments, but this was amazing. Yeah, this was, I love to come back, and I took it all in. You guys are amazing, each and every one of you. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, Ira, thank you for being here. I honor your commitment and really appreciate it. Thank you, Ira.
Again, my apologies, but
No.
next
My
time I'll know
apologies.
that it's
I'm
longer
sure we
than an hour.
communicated. Yeah, I'm sure we communicated the hour. Thank you, and my apologies, and thank you.
No. I should have allowed going over a little bit, but
No. Okay,
thank you all.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay.
I know.
Thank you. All right. So round two. Round two is about now we access some pain, some issues for Vivian there. And now it's how do we solve them? What's the yes that you're seeking? How do you demonstrate your heroic, unique identity? Somebody else might say USP. I think we really want to be a lot more than USP. I think I don't think Rick Teed has a USP. I think Rick Teed, in adding the value he did to be in the Wall Street Journal, was because he had a heroic, unique identity. He created massive value, as I'm sure did Greg, Gerald, Tony, all the things that they do. This is about what is it, that heroic, unique identity. So you're solving those challenges for Vivian, and what's the yes we're seeking, like moving to that ultimate yes, and handling any clarifications, what somebody else might call objection handling. How do we deal with those objections, uncertainties, moving to a yes? Never closing anybody, because Vivian, I wouldn't want you to close my mom, so I don't think we should try to close you or anybody. How do we form an agreement and go forward? So with that said, Tony, you went first last time. You get to choose first or second in this round.
First.
Boom, Tony, going right at it. Ready? Are you ready to drop in, Tony?
I'm in.
Let's go. Vivian, take it away.
Vivian, can I ask you about this aspect that you came to where you shifted from something that felt like it was selfish into actually really caring for yourself and setting boundaries? Like, what was the catalyst for that moment?
Well, when I look back at the first time, when I had my health crisis, I realized there was like a shitstorm of things going on that led to me losing my hair and everything else. And they were all of these relationships that I gave so much of myself to. And then when I got sick, I didn't really find most people around for that I had given all this energy to. And that was extremely painful. Then I fast forward to doubling down and saying, no, I'm going to love harder because they don't understand. So maybe if I give unconditional love to the point of, depletion, then maybe I'll be loved. And then when that didn't happen, and then I went to, like 2 years ago, some event happened that I don't want to talk about. And then I was completely misunderstood. I started having panic attacks and feeling so like, nobody's ever going to understand me. I can't live like this moving forward. I can't allow my health crisis, which is so under control right now. And I can't moving forward in my life in good conscience, live that same way. So that changed everything. I went to UPW, Date with Destiny, and did a lot of self-help work that I've never done in my life.
So I'm always super fascinated by like the moment of like what that shift was like in you, of shifting from a mindset of I got to give, and basically exhausting yourself into finally going, oh, I need to actually care for me. Mm-hmm. Like what did that feel like in you when it shifted into that? When
I started shifting?
Yeah.
I had so much guilt. I didn't know what to do with it. I felt like a bandit,
Yeah.
And then I started to wonder, why am I so accessible and giving so much love? And I know it was probably seeking that golden star from my dad, of which I was never gonna get it from. And he's been long dead since I was 20, so many years ago. And so I just started to reclaim it. I had better people around me to continually tell me that I was doing the right thing and I was listening and opening up my mind.
Minutes ago, Tony, 1 minute ago.
Yes. So yeah.
Yeah, that like I'm always like, to me that like the moment of that catalyst of how someone transitions into like shifting through the like all the stories of the selfishness and all the noise of what does this mean about me if I actually take care of me, and and if that was like a relieving experience, like what did that feel like in you when you shifted into that? What was that? How did you occur to yourself differently in that space?
I can't say it's comfortable. I can't say it's smooth. I can't say that still today I feel like I'm doing the right thing, but I just know that my behavior enabled people to behave badly. So I remind myself that by not doing that, those people will find their other people that they will suck their lives out of and continue living just fine, as I continue to have space for where I'm headed and giving to the people who help themselves, and pouring my love and receiving and loving unconditionally the way that Sean describes.
Yeah.
With boundaries. I think boundaries, I had a different meaning for boundaries before.
All right, 10 seconds, Tony.
Do you prefer this way of living to the other?
It's definitely a better way of living.
Nice job, Tone. Excellent. So, Vivian, one word. How was that experience for you?
It forced me to think. So it was challenging in a very good way. So.
Awesome. All right. And Tony, how'd you feel?
I'm super curious. Like, I'm genuinely curious of that, like that pivot, because I think that is a monumental pivot. And I wanted to know, what I was fishing for was it a one moment, or is it this gradual turning of a ship?
Awesome. Well, thank you, brother. Gerald, are you ready?
You're on mute, dear.
Muted.
It works better without the mute on. Just real quick, Sean. So is the outcome to make the invitation during the section, or just to go deeper?
Yeah. No. So it's to get your identity, solve Vivian's pain through the yes that you're seeking. So whatever that yes is, right? It could be for another meeting. It could be for her to come to a program of yours. It could be a book, whatever it is. Yes, present what the it is, you and the it, and the yes.
Okay, beautiful.
Right. You ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready, Vivian?
Born ready, man.
All right, let's go. 3 minutes.
I really just want to say, like, my heart's been moved as I've listened to you talk. Like, I really get who you are and this journey that you've been on. I just think about the journey with your mom and moving 23 times, and you, like, really making this decision to make a better life for yourself, and all of these decisions you made along the way. Is your mom still alive?
Oh, yeah.
So tell me, like, what impact has she made in your life? Like, how has she influenced you in becoming who you are?
Ooh, that's a good one. My mom has a very hard time expressing herself because, well, that's a whole nother Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And in so doing, there are things I don't want to be. And I know that sometimes I lack knowing how to express who I am, even though I can do it easily, as you know, but it's like really connecting to the heart and putting words to that. And so it's not like I always journal, which I know I should. And so I know that that's not something I want for my life. So it's an impetus every time I have a conversation with my mother to know that I should find a way, even no matter how difficult it is, to better convey how I feel. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge one for me now that I go with. And I know I have to share my story, which I haven't done till now because I didn't think it mattered. And she has impacted my life because her voice would be silent if I didn't share hers too. And there's so much about mixed race problems within our family, and my mom being a product of that was also passed down to me. So being the darkest in my family. And so that's taboo, and that's stuff you don't talk about, which is shameful. And so recently, just hitting, Brené Brown and opening up about vulnerability and all of that stuff and coming to terms with that, it's helping me become a better person and grow. And hopefully I will be able to infuse that onto my show. So my mom is a point of inspiration for me.
Yeah, 1 minute ago.
It's so empowering. I just hear all of these, there's so many different facets of you, Vivian, like making the decision to be a better person in the trials, like even being from a mixed race, experience growing up. And I really sensed your story matters. And I really sense that for you, you've made this decision now that says, I need to share the story because it can impact people's lives. And for me, that's one of my commitments, in the events and the workshops and all of the stuff we do is like really helping people share their story so that they can bless and impact lives. And I can see that your story and everything you've overcome and your journey to become a better person for you is something that can also help other people. So I wonder if you'd be open, Vivian, to being interviewed on my, to my audience, where I can have you share your story and some of the wisdom you've gained through your incredible life with my audience. Would you be open to being a guest on a show that we do for our audience?
I would love to.
And if you were, like, what would be like the main message you would want to communicate through your story and through who you are? If you could share like what that story is, what is it that you want to get across?
That no matter what happens in life, there are guides, and follow the path. Follow the path that you know is right for yourself.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. And I know I'm excited to learn more, and I'm excited for my audience to hear from your wisdom. And I'm excited for you to share your story because it matters. Like, your journey has been hard. You've been through a lot, and it can help everyone else who's going through those things too. So I'm excited for you to let your voice be heard and to impact the lives that are waiting for you right now. And I'm excited to see how I can help you do that.
Thank you.
Very, very nice story. Gerald, how'd you feel?
I'm like tearing-eyed. Like, I'm like
Got me tearing.
I know, like I'm really just feeling inspired, and I'm excited to, like, I'm genuinely excited for my audience to hear, like, because nothing inspires us more than hearing journey of people that have been through really hard things and risen above. And it's easy for people to see you, Vivian, as someone that has it all put together, and you're so beautiful and you're so talented, and just knowing that you struggle the way the rest of us struggle, like, makes us really get that we have hope, that we can learn too. So I'm really, really touched. Thank you, Sean, for the opportunity. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. So Vivian, I had no access, like, right? I can't see. So these people are saying that you are physically presentable. I had no. So congratulations on being physically presentable. It is amazing. And being brilliant and being wonderful.
Great.
Beautiful energy. So thank you. It's amazing. Right. Let's drop in. So Greg, what do you got? Let's start with Tony again. What'd you have for what worked? Growth opportunity score. Let's try to trim it down a little bit. We've gone long. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe like 45 seconds. So what do you have?
So I thought these were both great. I love these both. I thought that both interviewers used the information they gathered from the first part to really zero in on what mattered to Vivian. And I thought they both connected well. With Tony, I really liked the way he used hand motions and gestures, and he leaned in and he kind of touched his face, and he seemed very genuinely interested in what she had to say. I thought that was fantastic. And I realized that's something I could do better myself, is I need to figure out what to do with my hands more. But his body language really showed me that he cared about what she said. So I would give him a 9. For Gerald, he also had great body language, and he seemed very sincere. And I love the way he converted her story into pivoting to what he does and to tying them together. I loved how he was saying how you really want to tell your story, and he kind of made it seem like they both have the same goals. Her goals and his goals mirrored each other. And so therefore it's natural that they would work together. So I love the way he converted her story into his process of working together. So I thought that was a very smooth transition.
Awesome.
So I give him a 9 also.
Very, very nice. And Greg, thank you so much for being here. One more time, what was the name of your book?
It's called Why Doctors Skip Breakfast: Wellness Tips to Reverse Aging, Treat Depression, and Get a Good Night's Sleep. And you could actually get Why Doctors Skip Breakfast as paperback or as an ebook on Amazon.
Awesome, brother. And you're more than welcome to come back as a participant. However, if someone were to ask you, hey, should I be a judge on The Real Raw or not? What would you say?
Absolutely. It's fun. It's great. It's great to see accomplished people do things. And you're putting people in sort of a unusual and almost a vague situation. Your directions, I think, are intentionally open-ended. So it's fun to see how people have to deal with that. So I like that. You're putting people in an out-of-the-box situation.
Yeah, we like out of the box here, Greg, and thank you for that acknowledgement. And really appreciate you being here. So
thank you.
Thank you. So Rick, how you doing, brother? And what do you got for Tony and Gerald?
Tony, I feel like you were at a slight disadvantage. I think you were very excited to get, to say, I'm going first. And you might have missed the early instruction, which is to somehow ask for the order, which you didn't do. And I'm sure that it's making you suffer listening to your competitor on this one because you knew that he got that instruction right before. And I was watching how uncomfortable you were in your chair, like, shit, I screwed up. Anyway, but that's okay. I think, you know, listen, excellent rapport, so on and so forth, you know, and it's also a disadvantage because, especially in this context with this type of potential client, because you know, you're asking questions and all of a sudden you're delivering this on a platter to Gerald, because then he could just take anything you said and go deeper, which he did, and he did a masterful job. And we got into things like, you know, a real health crisis, and all this stuff was coming from, you know, her giving and giving and giving and getting no return, and then having to go through the pain of like eliminating certain people in her life, which I'm sure was a lot of people, because, you know, you find like there's no one there, and you got to all these major points that are that really take somebody into pain. And I think, you know, you did a great job because you asked a key question that I was listening for, and the question was very quick, and at the end it's like, okay, well, great, you know, so all these things led you somewhere. And, you know, I'd love to take you on my show, and hopefully we can introduce my audience, and you know, you can ultimately come to realize there's something beautiful that happened. You went through all this pain because there's something that is born from all of this. There's always a birth from some extreme pain. You know, it's from the ashes that the phoenix rises, right? And then this is what Vivian is clearly going through. And you ask for the order at the end, so you win. Okay, I'll give you a 9, and Tony, you get a 5 for not asking the question. Or I fire you.
Well, so thank you, Rick. Yeah, awesome. And Rick, thank you so much for being here today, brother. And if somebody were to say to you, hey, should I be a judge on the Real Raw? Like, how was your experience? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I have to tell you something. You know, again, I didn't know anything about this. I just know you, and I've had the pleasure of standing on stage next to you when you're asking for the order and pumping up an auction to raise money for the Underground Railroad. And I'm standing up there and I'm just like emotional up there doing it. Next thing you know, Sean gets up next to me, and holy moly, does he take it to another level. And his communication skills are shockingly good. And it puts mine in this shadow of like, hey, listen, dig there. You got a lot to learn, standing next to Sean. And then just see guys like Tony and Gerald, and I'm assuming Vivian here, and also the other folks, Ira and Greg, you know, to have this caliber of people here, and then to, it's not fair that I would be put in a position to have to score these guys because they're highly skilled. But I would say this is an absolute must, especially if you're trying to accelerate your business. And it's not only going to help you in your business, but it's going to help you in your people skills, because if everything really is about these 3 things, I see you, I hear you, and I understand you. I probably have heard that many times before, but never heard it. And I wrote it down, and I'm going to start to use that for every interaction I have with people. So thank you for that.
Thank you, brother, man.
It's a short thing. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, just one thing that's dropped in, content that's dropped in of that caliber, once it's there, it's not like a bunch of information thrown at me and I don't know which one stuck. That stuck. And it's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
Hey, Rick, I see you.
So thank you.
Hear you. And what you say matters to me, for real. And thank you. And we co-created.
You're all frozen to me. I don't know.
In service of so many people, the contributions of so many for the big man, and what he's up to in the world. And it was an honor to serve there with you. So thank you. So Gerald, Tony, thank you guys so much. And Gerald, brother, we're going to be doing some more things together coming up soon. We're really excited about it. And Gerald, if somebody were to say to you, hey, should I be a participant in this thing? Like, yeah, is it worth the time? Like, what is it? What say you?
I have learned so much, and it really helped me get like present to things that I want to shift immediately. I've got like 3 one-on-ones this afternoon, and already like I can see how I can be more present, more engaged, and really tune in and really care about the people that I get to spend time with. So I appreciate that. And it's so fun being on here with Tony. I did have a massive advantage because Tony like lays this amazing foundation and just peels, people back, and then I get to step in, and I already know a little bit about like, where they're at. And Vivian is like, you're such a gift. Like, I'm really excited to get to know you. And I mean, I love you, Sean, and I'm so excited for all we get to do to play together. And I'm excited for the new people you bring into my life, like Vivian, who is an extraordinary human being that I'm excited to connect with more.
Love you, brother, and thank you. And by the way, for Tony, it's like, the Celtics of Bird, the like Lakers of Magic. There could be like, another round. Ali, Frazier, you know what I mean, Tony? So Tony, how are you? And what say you about the Real Raw?
Oh, this was amazing. Rick, thank you for the raw feedback. It was incredibly constructive. Vivian, I'm inspired by your story and by who you are as a human being and your raw vulnerability in a setting like this. It's moving and it's touching and it's inspiring. Sean, I've just enjoyed every interaction that we've had. And I was nervous coming into this because I knew I was going head to head with Gerald. We've shared stages for 10 years. So we know each other extraordinarily well. And I knew what I was getting into going up against Gerald in this. And I've been nervous about it for like 2 weeks. So I loved the experience of having something that was so genuinely uncomfortable and to just lean in and play. And the insight, like being a contestant here, like the real learning and the nervousness and the being in my own head and like navigating the space is so valuable. This is incredible. It's one thing to watch it. It's a whole other thing to be in the seat and be like, okay, where do I go with this? I'm going up against Gerald. So thank you, Sean. I appreciate everyone letting me come and play.
Well, you are welcome, but thank you. Your incredibly generous time. I'm sorry we ran late, guys. Appreciate Gerald, Tony, Greg, Rick, Vivian. Appreciate all so much. Thanking Ira as well, Fernando for kicking us off. And it is Trajectory Tuesday. And our superpower of integrity-based influence rockets our trajectory once we master it and know what to do with it. You guys are beautiful and amazing. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.